Welcome to another Dynasty Warriors Origins guide. You're watching Dom's Roundtable, and today I'm bringing you 12 important advanced tips to help you tackle the late game, into New Game Plus and beyond, to help prepare you for the grueling difficulty of the challenges that you unlock along with the new super tough True Warrior difficulty. As you get towards the end of Chapter 5 and you're ready to jump into New Game Plus, you start to realize there's a lot the game didn't tell you up front, and it leaves you potentially regretting your actions later on in the game, such as what you should have spent your money on and how to get bucket loads of it, also how to most effectively upgrade your gems, how to bring peace to the different regions, and ensure a guaranteed success with your tactics 100% of the time. We're going to answer all of these questions along with so many more in this video. So make sure you subscribe for more guides for all your favorite video games, and let's jump straight into the first tip. This first one is very quick and easy, and it's all about maximizing the peace in each of the different provinces so that you can reap the rewards that the citizens of the regions leave for you. If you didn't know, they will leave you gifts of gratitude at waymarks each time you raise the level of peace in the region to a certain level. And this basically goes up every time you complete a mission in that region, and you can pretty much max out the peace of every single region right at the start of the game by just grinding out groups of bandits in them repeatable unlimited side quests. However, this is a very, very inefficient way of doing things, and actually, if you didn't know, you get a huge chunk of progress every time you complete a main mission, far more than any of these repeatable side missions. And in actuality, if you are planning on completing the game multiple times and unlocking the Wu, Shu, and Wei endings, along with making your way towards the true ending, then you will naturally max out the peace in every single region and be able to claim all of the rewards simply by just playing the main game. So unless you want to grind the optional repeatable missions for training purposes, you can completely ignore them and just focus on what's important and what matters. And just to clarify, I'm not talking about the missions that actually have the icon of someone standing there. These side missions are limited and very significant, and you definitely want to do these. I covered this in full in my beginner tips video. I'm talking about the missions that are just a blank circle on the ground, and they appear and disappear all over the map. They are just a waste of time. There are much more efficient ways to do your grinding and max out the peace in all of the different provinces. This next tip is all about how to achieve dramatic success. Later on in the game, as you build your bonds with different officers, some of them will ask you to achieve certain amounts of dramatic success with your tactics. And if you read the tactics, it does advise you roughly how to achieve dramatic success. So the arrow volley and the fire arrow volley, along with a few others, all say it's about elevation and you need to be a certain height above the enemies that you're shooting at to achieve dramatic success. You've got others like the spear wall, which are rewarded when you stop a charge, and you have a mounted cavalry charge of your own, which is achieved if you hit enemies from a certain distance away. But these are all quite wishy-washy metrics, and it doesn't exactly tell you if it is or isn't going to be a dramatic success. However, there's a really, really easy way to tell. If you take your time with your positioning and you use the sight of the sacred bird, you will see when you are positioned correctly for a dramatic success, the preview of your tactic turns from grey to blue. This means it will be a dramatic success. Now, using the cavalry charge as an example, if you are right on the cusp, there is a chance your target will move out of range or too close, and it will no longer be a dramatic success, but 99% of the time, you can use that blue preview to tell you, yes, you have done this correctly. And you'll know it's a dramatic success because the gameplay will slow down more than with a regular success, and it will zoom in and there'll be this big explosion around your target because yes, you have nailed them, you've done like double damage, you've smashed away their poise, and you are well on your way to completing the dramatic success quests. This next tip is all about discovering new items for sale. Every so often in your playthrough, usually in the middle of chapters or at the start of a new one, loads of new towns will suddenly have new items for sale. And let me give you a live demonstration now of how best to handle this. If I use the bird sight, you'll see pretty much every single town in sight now has a little gold diamond next to it to tell me that there are new items in stock. And each time this happens, you want to go and visit every single town until you have cleared that diamond off of every single town. Because different towns will stock different items. However, once you have gone and reviewed the item once, that is now purchasable from anywhere. So now that I've cleared the notifications off these weapons, I'll go and have a look at the shop as well. And you'll see here I've got a few new battle arts, 2 for the lance and 2 for the crescent blade. And now I have viewed them, they will be available to purchase whenever I want at the nearest shop. As another example, this shop here has the stamina potion, however the previous one I was just at didn't. So just to show you exactly what I mean, I will go back to the town I was just at, open up the shop, and sure enough I can now purchase a stamina potion from here as well. And just while I'm giving you a few more examples, another very important thing to note, which will be very handy with another tip later on in the video, is that even though that item is now purchasable from every shop, the stock is not shared. So even though an item in a town is limited, it won't remove that stock from another town. So if there is an item you find you rely on in combat quite frequently, then you can run around to every single town buying the entirety of the stock for that item everywhere until you've got a really good supply of like 20 or 30 of them. Obviously early game that's going to rinse through your gold. I don't really advise doing this, but the option's there if you want to do so. And talking of spending all your money, the next 2 tips will perfectly help you gather a huge supply of gold and also advise you what to and what not to spend it on. So next up, as you are going through the campaign the first time, as I say, at the start of each chapter or roughly around the middle of the chapter, all shops will now sell the next tier of weapon, and sometimes it's upwards of like a 50+ damage increase, and it can be so tempting to try and buy yourself a new set of weapons, or even just one to help you get through the next few battles. That is exactly what I did, and I'm not going to lie, it does help. So if you really want to do that, please do. It's your game at the end of the day. I'm only here to advise, not to tell you what to do. But my advice is to resist that urge. Do not buy a single weapon from the shop and just rely on the drops you get. It will mean the first battle at each pivotal story point may be a little bit tougher than it could be if you just bought the upgrade to your weapon. However, you're going to get so many drops that you will completely flesh out your arsenal in no time at all. And the reason I'm telling you to save all your gold is because at the end of your first playthrough, when you get into New Game Plus, you gain the opportunity to purchase Louis Boo's weapon, the halberd. And it doesn't cost as much as other weapons, it costs over 4 times more. So a weapon that costs around 100,000, the halberd costs 400,000 plus. Now don't get me wrong, like other weapons, there are ways to get the halberd for free, but from what I have seen so far with 2 full hard mode playthroughs, it cannot drop off of enemies. You can only get it through the True Warrior challenges. These challenges are ridiculously hard, and the ones that will grant you a variation of the halberd are some of the hardest in the game. So until you are level 80 plus and you have an arsenal of god tier weapons, getting a halberd for free is a very, very tough task. And if you haven't seen my weapon video already reviewing exactly how good the halberd is, go and check that out. That's exactly why I'm advising you to save all your gold and buy the biggest and best version of it as soon as you can. This weapon is an absolute monster, and it will help you trivialize your next playthrough. Now, I've told you not to spend all your gold, and I've told you what I think you should be saving for, but even if you do that, depending on how thoroughly you play your first playthrough, you might still not have enough gold for the halberd. So this is why I'm going to give you an absolutely fantastic way to make a load of money. Now, we talked about them unique side quests earlier on that reward you with really cool things like battle arts, additional troops for your personal guard, and incredibly powerful consumable items. Well, there is a version of each of these quests for each of the 3 main factions that you can side with. And if you have already done one, for instance for Cao Cao, and now you want to follow Liu Bei, you will come across that quest again, but the reward will already be ticked off. It says you've already got this reward. So at first you might think, oh well, it's pointless, why do I do it again then? Money, that's why you do it again. If you replay another faction's equivalent of a side quest you've already completed, where you have claimed the reward, instead it will give you a huge cash injection from 15,000 all the way up to around 30,000 in the late game. And there's quite a few of these, so that's easily a couple of $100,000 in your pocket for doing some pretty easy missions. That is how you're going to make a lot of your money in New Game Plus. That's how you're going to be able to afford the best version of the halberd, along with some other really juicy New Game Plus items. Another fantastic money-making thing you should always do if you get the opportunity. Every time you see a thief, do not let them run away. Do not leave them alone. Do not let them out of your sight. Even if you're on a time-sensitive mission, it is much more valuable to kill these thieves. They can give you thousands and thousands of gold. They can give you pyroxene and other rare, valuable materials. Killing thieves is a great and easy and quick way to boost your coffers, and you should definitely prioritize and focus them down whenever you see one in combat. My next tip, this is more of a base game tip, but it still applies to New Game Plus as well. As you are progressing through chapters 3 and 4, even if you are already sure which faction you would like to fight for in this particular playthrough, make sure you do every single mission available to you. So you know you've got that contribution at the top left, fill as many of them as possible before you make your decision and tell your favorite commander that you would like to join up with them. This will ensure many things. Firstly, you will unlock more areas of the map sooner, so you can find more hidden items and secrets. It will also allow you to bond with the most amount of officers, which, as you know, is not only going to increase your skill points, it will also give you more old coins and just improve your overall experience and immersion of the story and the world. And it's going to make it quicker and easier to get to that true ending by experiencing all of the different cutscenes and side quests and optional conversations that you need to piece the story together and reveal the true secrets and meaning behind the main character and his cohorts. Next up, I want to share with you the importance of the sacred bird sites that you have access to both on the battlefield and on the overworld. Quickly and simply put, on the overworld, it will allow you to see everything from tremendous distances, along with showing you the locations of old coins. We'll talk about the importance of old coins later on, but remember to use this because it stops you fumbling around for them. It will literally just show you where they all are. It's fantastic. And on the battlefield, there's a few ways in which this can be used to your advantage. One of my personal favorites is if you are sprinting towards the enemy commander of a large force, because you've got your Musou gauge maxed out, you've got your ally ready with theirs as well, and you just want to get them killed. But there's just so many enemies there that it's hard to figure out where they are and keep track of them. Just periodically use your Sight of the Sacred Bird and you can keep track of them as you move around the battlefield together. Also, you need to use this to find and track down the sensors that the Yellow Turbans use and other various sorceries throughout the game. And most importantly, it is a fantastic way to prepare to line up your tactics. Obviously, you need to go into this mode to use tactics anyway, but it's worth just staying in this site for a while whilst you are lining up tactics to make sure that all your troops have gathered up before you release it, and make sure they're not going to hit obstacles or targets that aren't intended. There are many ways to use this to your advantage, and it is so much more of a powerful tool than you realize in the early game. This next tip is a two-parter all about the hut where you can review your interactions and your bonds. Firstly, and most obviously, I advise going back here every so often just to make sure you're not missing out on any conversations, bonds, or training missions. Usually it's very clear and obvious where they are, especially if you check the actual world map every so often, but it's worth coming here just in case you may have missed one. But most importantly, I wanted to talk to you about motivation opportunities. I was running around loading so many different saves, trying to find a save where I had a motivation opportunity, but I'm so thorough and so OCD about completing all of the training missions that I'm given that I never have any, but I finally found one to demo for you. And basically what this is for is if you have been given a few training missions that you are struggling to complete or you just can't be asked to do, you can come here, you can pay a small fee to progress that officer to the next bond level so that you can continue on with their side quests. The training will still be there for you to complete in the future, so you won't lose the skill points rewarded for completing them, but it allows you to continue pushing on their quest line so you can get that bond to maximum. And sometimes you want to do this because characters don't often stick around long in Dynasty Warriors, they die quite frequently. Usually it's completely out of your control and you have no idea they've even died until it's too late, and then you're going to have to wait until the next playthrough to complete this. So if you ever have a motivation opportunity, just spend the money and do it. Just on the off chance you forget to complete their training mission and then you lose out on the opportunity to maximize that bond. Next up, I wanted to drill into you the importance of old coins. You get these from the overworld, from quests, from training missions, from helping officers, from increasing bonds. There's so many ways to get them, and at first it feels like you're getting an endless amount of old coins. You are smashing up them ranks pretty quickly early on, and then it really grinds to a halt. And it's at that point I realized, and this is basically just for your benefit, just to make you aware, there are only as many old coins in the game as there are rewards to be received on the rewards track. So it's not going to be until you 100% the game that you claim every single old coin. So basically, don't get too hung up on them, don't try and rush them. It's a very long process that's going to require you to max out every single officer bond, discover every single true ending, complete every single side quest, find every single old coin on the overworld. It's a long ass process. And I imagine it's going to be pretty easy to miss one or two. So hopefully someone with far more patience than me comes out eventually with a massive list of where to get every single old coin. Basically, I just wanted you to be aware of that so you don't obsess about them. It can detract from your enjoyment of the game and take your focus away from the things that really matter. On to the final two tips now. As you are nearing the end of Chapter 5, I would advise you to start saving weapons that have good traits on them, so that when you unlock the ability to reforge, you can reforge your stronger weapons and tailor their traits to better fit your specific build. Let me show you how it works and let me give you two examples. I'll scroll to the end and use the Godly Dragon because I have 3 of these, so it's going to be very easy for me to show you what I mean. Firstly, you can do Reforge Power, which will basically use up one weapon and a very, very small fee to enhance the attack power of the weapon you have chosen. And that is the only way to get these endgame weapons to their maximum amount of power. You basically have to keep getting them to eat each other and just eke out that power a little bit more time and time again until eventually you've got it to like the Godly Dragon plus 20 and it's got an extra 60 attack. But that, as you can imagine, is going to take a lot of copies, and that's a very long, slow process. And as you can see, if I give you another example here using my staves, this can only be done with 2 of the same weapon type. So using a +8 Basilisk Staff here and sacrificing the +4, I can then get it up to a +13 for a +5 attack bonus. But I can't, for instance, use one of the Crimson Clouds to give it a gigantic boost in attack power. It needs to be the equivalent class of weapon. Now, if we go back to my Crescent Blades again, you'll see 2 of them have 6 traits and are the exact same, whereas one of them has arguably better traits but only has 5 slots available. And this is where Reforge comes into play. I can now sacrifice my 5-slot weapon and choose one of its traits to replace one of the traits on my 6-trait weapon. So this very small chance of generating a whirlwind when attacking, I could sacrifice this weapon, pay 1,000 gold or whatever the currency is, and I can replace a trait on my 6-slot weapon. And by doing this, you can sacrifice weapons you would otherwise sell for minuscule amounts of money and really tailor your favorite weapons to give them the 6 most powerful traits in the game, things that are going to really work with your build and really synergize well with what you are trying to achieve. So again, just to reiterate, both of the Reforge mechanics are a very slow process, and they really are tailored to making your build absolutely perfect for the end game when you're trying to get some of these crazy true warrior challenges completed. But just keep it in your mind that this is a mechanic that exists, and it will help you out if you really want to min-max and 100% the game. And the final tip is all about pyroxene and herbs, and how to utilize the light and the bright light. So I've advised in the previous beginner tips video to not use any of your pyroxene in the early game, because you want to save all of it ideally until you gain the ability to use herbs. So very occasionally your sacred bird sight will kick in when you are on the create gems screen, and it will tell you you have seen the light. And now 2 or 3 of your gems will be highlighted, and they have a chance to basically gain extra charges when you use your pyroxene. And this is pretty good. It's not a bad time to use your pyroxene. However, if you hold fire and save your pyroxene up and save it up and save it up, around the mid game you gain the ability to use herbs, and these will guarantee a bright light, which means now only 2 of the gem slots have been highlighted. Only 2 will be buffed up when you use your pyroxene, but there is now a high chance of them gaining 3 levels. And this is the most efficient and fastest way to level up your gems. And if you didn't know, when you get into New Game Plus, you can even buy pyroxene from shops. Again, it's an item with a limited stock, but again, you can go around and you can buy up all the pyroxene from every single town until you've got a really big stock, then use it all up with a herb, and you can increase the levels of your gems so quickly this way. And that, my friends, is it for my 12 advanced tips that I've got for you to help you smash through Dynasty Warriors Origins into New Game Plus and beyond. Make sure you subscribe, stay tuned for more guides, and as always, all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.